Hey, what's up guys, it's Caboose XBL bringing you another Captain America Civil War video, and today what we're going to be doing is talking about all the Captain America Civil War Easter eggs. Now, with that said, if you have not seen the film, I highly suggest you click off this video now, for some of the Easter eggs that we are going to be mentioning in this video are considered spoilers for this film. So if you haven't seen Captain America Civil War yet, drop a like on this video and come back to it after you've seen the film so that we can talk some of the juicy Easter eggs throughout the film. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Kicking it off right away with the opening action scene of the film, we get to see Falcon showcasing his sidekick, Redwing. Now, Redwing in the comics is a telepathic bird that works alongside the Falcon, and while that's not exactly what we ended up getting in the movie, it was a nice nod to the comics of that character. Moving on, we see Stark providing a presentation at a high school for some people, and then later on in this presentation, we see on his teleprompter that Pepper Potts is mentioned. This obviously causes Stark some distress, in which we don't know why, but later find out throughout the film, as Pepper Potts is mentioned once again in a conversation between Cap and Tony, that Pepper and Tony are on break. They seem to have gotten in some sort of an argument, causing them to split. I hope this doesn't mean the worst. I like Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. together. They work off each other very well, and she is a great character, so I'd like to see her return sometime in the future, but it doesn't seem so bright by the looks of it in this film. Up next, we have a scene in which the Avengers are brought a presentation from General Thunderbolt Ross. We haven't seen him since Incredible Hulk. He provides the Avengers with the Sokovia Accords during the scene. Now, the Sokovia Accords are essentially a direct reference to the Superhero Registration Act from the comics, in which these superheroes are supposed to register themselves under the government so that they can control them, because these superheroes are working against their own will and causing a lot of property damage in doing so. Now, it's within this scene that we see General Thunderbolt Ross directly reference Hulk and Thor's whereabouts in the fact that they have no clue where they are. We see very clearly from the events of Avengers Age of Ultron that Banner has gone completely missing and nobody knows where he goes. But we do know that Hulk will be later appearing in Thor Ragnarok. That's going to be really interesting to see a team-up movie of that variety. Hulk is also mentioned later on in the film as Stark is talking to Black Widow about the fact that they are very understaffed in their fight against Captain America, in which Tony Stark pretty much says, "Wouldn't it be great if we had a Hulk at this point?" And Black Widow responds with the fact that he might not even be on their side. Later on, we see the introduction of T'Chaka, which is, of course, T'Challa, aka the Black Panther's father. Now, while he doesn't have quite a big role in this film, as he gets the short end of the stick, getting himself killed in an explosion, which, of course, creates the drive for Black Panther's hatred for the Winter Soldier and his involvement in the eventual Civil War, it is great to see this character make an appearance in this film, because I definitely wasn't expecting the Black Panther mythology to be that stretched out in this film. I thought they were just going to introduce the character and that was it, but no, you got T'Chaka in there and plenty more, so I'm really glad to see that character make an appearance, although his unfortunate death is to follow. And like I said, the Black Panther mythology was really stretched out in this film, as we later see one of the Dora Milaje appear in the film, as she provides some condescending dialogue to Black Widow. The Dora Milaje are most famously known in the Black Panther comics as his bodyguards, so that was great once again to see another reference to that character's mythology. We also see throughout the film that Vision and Scarlet Witch's relationship is developed. We see this through various scenes in which they are together, and Vision is actually showing some sort of affection for Wanda. We also see during the airport fight scene that it's because of this affection that Vision has for Wanda, he gets distracted and eventually ends up being the one to paralyze Rhodey. Now, moving on to the more meaty and juicy Easter eggs of Captain America Civil War. We know throughout that film's production last year that there was this very cryptic Twitter account known as the Russo Brothers. People still question its authenticity today because of the fact that it isn't even verified. What this Twitter account kept doing, which is why people questioned whether or not it was real, was it was posting a bunch of pictures that are seemingly from the film. These were really up close pictures that were hard to make out, and there were things that you would have no clue about until you'd had actually seen the film. One of the things they posted on this Twitter account was of these goggles, or what people assume to be part of Doctor Strange's cape. And that ended up being, in the film, the goggles for Spider-Man's prototype suit, confirming that this Twitter account is indeed real. There's also some articles out there, I believe, that has completely deciphered all of the pictures on this Twitter account, once again proving that it's real. But I think it's just awesome that these guys, the Russo Brothers, created this Twitter account and posted all these cryptic images and got the internet going crazy about whether or not it was real or fake. And it turned out to be real, so I think that's pretty awesome. And yes, Spider-Man's goggles are seen in this picture from his prototype suit, and it's mentioned that he uses these goggles to help himself with his spider senses. He says that his senses have been dialed up to 11, and the goggles help keep himself in check. It's also in this scene that we, of course, get our introduction to Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, the new one that is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in this conversation, plenty of references to Spider-Man's past are made. Spider-Man references, once again, his Spidey senses. He references how he got his powers, or at least he was about to before Stark cuts him off. And then, of course, he makes a very subtle reference to Uncle Ben in saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that sometimes when you have these powers and you don't use them, bad things happen. That's what I believe he said. I can't really remember. I'd have to go back and watch the movie again to really give you guys the exact piece of dialogue. But there is, I can promise, a subtle reference to Uncle Ben in the film through that line. Alright, let's just get right into this airport fight scene, because there is so much to talk about in terms of Easter eggs. First, let me just reiterate again that this is one of the best action scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. There are so many characters involved and so much going on from different perspectives, but it all works and it all flows so fluently. I don't know how the Russos managed to do it, but they freaking did it. It's amazing. It's so good. So my hat's off to you, Russos, if you're watching this. And if you are watching this, maybe let me cameo in the next Avengers film, Moving on, let's talk about some of the Easter eggs in this airport fight. The main one, the biggest one, pun intended, that everyone knows about is Giant Man. Now, as Cap and the Winter Soldier are running their way towards a Quinjet, they need a diversion to get Stark and War Machine off their back. So Ant-Man's like, you know what? I'ma just turn big. And he did it, and it was fantastic. It was so cool. This is, of course, a reference to the comic, as Hank Pym, or I guess it's Scott Lang in this film, is once Ant-Man and then turns into Giant Man. We also get in this airport fight the introduction to our new Spider-Man suit, and it is amazing. It's a little too CGI, but I'll give it a pass. I'll wait and see for the Spider-Man movie how it looks then. But talking on the suit itself, we get official confirmation during the scene that Stark is indeed the one to have built this suit, which is, of course, a direct reference to the comics, as Stark is one to build Spider-Man the Iron Spider suit. Now, while it's not the Iron Spider suit that we end up getting in this film, it's very much that reference to the storyline in which Stark builds Spidey a suit for the Civil War. Now, also talking about the suit itself, this is something that plenty of people have mentioned already online. It very much reminisces the Steve Ditko era of Spider-Man, with the moving eyes, the black webbing, and everything like that. And of course, he has the classic web shooters. Now, Spider-Man in this airport fight was just awesome. He was so funny, he was witty, and he was the Spider-Man that I was looking for a very, very long time. So it was just awesome the way he was portrayed in this film. Now, speaking of his wittiness and his funniness, one of the things that he does in this film is mention Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Now, he does this when he's webbing up Ant-Man's legs together to allow Iron Man and War Machine take him down from up high. This is, of course, a reference to Empire Strikes Back, when the AT-ATs get their legs tied together, dropping them to the ground. I thought it was a great reference. I know a couple friends of mine who are massive Star Wars fans geeked out like crazy at that moment, and I don't blame them. It's so awesome to see that this is like a Spider-Man that's so relatable. You know, he's a kid like us. He's like a teenager who likes to make these references and who likes to joke around like that. So, again, my hat's off to you, Russos. You picked the perfect Spider-Man for this film. Now, last but certainly not least, we get some iconic imagery during this airport fight when Hawkeye has Ant-Man sitting on top of his arrow, ready to battle. This is, of course, a reference to multiple moments in the comics when Ant-Man has done this, as well as in the cartoons, I believe, from Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Now, this was awesome in the movie. Of course, we've seen it in the trailer as well, so it was just great to see that iconic imagery brought to life in Captain America Civil War. Later on, a reference is made to Friday's look, the new AI that Stark uses for himself in the Iron Man suit, as Friday says, "What do I look like?" and Stark responds with, "I don't know, I'm picturing a redhead." This is a reference to the comics, as Friday actually has a holographic look, and she does indeed look like a redhead. So, nice little reference there. Some more iconic imagery can be found during the final fight between Captain America and Iron Man, as Captain America blocks a repulsor blast from Iron Man, eventually recreating the iconic cover from the Civil War comic book. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention for some Easter eggs in this film before the credits roll, that is, are the cameos in this film. Towards the beginning, we see Jim Rash, Community actor, appear in the film when he's talking to Tony Stark about his self-cooking hot dogs. And this is, of course, a reference to the fact that Joe and Anthony Russo used to direct episodes of Community. We also saw Danny Pudi appear in Captain America the Winter Soldier, who plays Abed on the show. I'm a big fan of Community, so it's always great to see that Anthony and Joe Russo are always sticking to their roots and bringing back some actors from that show to make some cameo appearances in their big budget blockbusters. Stan Lee, of course, makes a cameo in this film and titles Tony Stark as Tony Stank, something that both War Machine and everyone in the entire world will never let go of. His name is now Tony Stank. We're changing it legally. And last but certainly not least, director Joe Russo himself cameos in the film as a dead guy. Yeah. And as I mentioned, those are all the Easter eggs that I wanted to talk about before the credits roll in Captain America Civil War. But as we know with all Marvel movies, as soon as the credits start rolling, you don't get out of your seat. And if you do, you're getting your ass kicked. Not really, I'm just joking. Like, don't beat up anyone if they want to leave the movie after the credits roll. Just yell at them. Like really yell at them. But moving on, the credits roll, and there is, of course, a mid-credit scene and an after-credit scene in Captain America Civil War, both containing some Easter eggs towards the respected characters that these credit scenes are about. Now, in the mid-credit scene, we see that Bucky is going to be put back under ice, under Black Panther's supervision in Wakanda, but through this scene, we see that they are in Wakanda, and there are some massive Black Panther statues. A nice little nod to the comics, as that is apparent there as well. Now, in the after-credit scene, which is fantastic. I honestly love it so much, and it's the reason why I consider the Spider-Man in this film to be the live-action interpretation of the Spectacular Spider-Man, that cartoon, is that we see Spider-Man has the Spidey signal embedded into his web shooter, something that Tony Stark must have hidden in there, and this Spidey symbol is the classic Spider-Man symbol that we all know and love, the circular Spider-Man symbol with the eyes and the webbing and everything. I thought it was fantastic. Maybe it doesn't provide any hints or anything like that towards the future of Marvel movies or anything, but it was a great little post-credit scene that I thoroughly enjoyed as a Spider-Man fan. And that pretty much concludes all the Easter eggs that I could find in Captain America Civil War. What did you guys think? Do you think that I got them all? Are there any Easter eggs that I might have missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm Caboose XBL. Please drop a like if you enjoyed. These videos take a lot of work, so if you could show your appreciation, if you enjoyed the video that is, I would thoroughly appreciate it myself. Leave a comment if you have an opinion, and subscribe if you're new. See you guys later.